Hello, everyone. I'm Jackie. Um, I just wanted to I watched this video this morning or this afternoon. Um, a book tag created an original book tag created by Sam's Nonsense, which is called the Ultimate Reader's Book Tag. Or the Ultimate Book Lovers Tag. Sorry. So I thought I would go ahead and do that tag myself. It has 16 questions, I think, if I counted it right. Okay, so here is the first question. Your top 3 favorite books. I don't really, I'm the type of reader who has books that are my favorites for a period of time, but they're not necessarily my all-time favorites, so I just picked the first ones that popped in my head. The Harry Potter series, for one, because that is the book that really got me into fantasy and turned me into a hardcore reader. I mean, I've always read, but that one made an impact on my reading life. A Court of Mist and Fury, and I just read that one, so that series, the ACOTAR series, is kind of on my mind right now, and I just finished A Court of Wings and Ruins, so that series is kind of on my mind. So at the moment, that series is my favorite, and the second one, I'm still not entirely sure which one I prefer, either Court of Mist and Fury or ACOWAR, but as of right now, I'm just gonna say Court of Mist and Fury is one of my top 3 favorite books of all time. And then The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. I love this author, and that's probably the first one of her books that I fell in love with, your top least favorite books. And unfortunately, these are all actually considered classics. But The Metamorphosis, I don't remember who wrote that, but I just remember The Metamorphosis was such a boring book to me. We had to read it for class when I was in college, and that book just got on my nerves. That whole plot, I hated that book. Their Eyes Were Watching God. I don't hate this one, but it's not my favorite book. I mean, I think it's an okay book, and it's a nice story and everything. It's not my favorite. And then the Sleeping Beauty trilogy. I think that's what it's called. She's under a different name, but this is essentially by Anne Rice. I did not like it. It was a sex slave kind of story, and I was very uncomfortable. And I tried to get through it and read all 3 books, but I couldn't even finish book 2. The only reason I even attempted to finish book 2 was because I just wanted to see Beauty escape. But that one, I can't stand that series. I couldn't. Popular author that you love, Sarah J. Maas. Like I said, I'm kind of obsessed with the ACOTAR series, and I'm really enjoying Third Glass, despite the fact that my ship is basically, I got spoiled and found out that my ship has sunk. That ship will never happen. So, but I still love her books, and I will still continue to read the series. I know there are problematic elements to Sarah J. Maas's books, but I still love the story. I'm very entertained. I enjoy it, but I also acknowledge that she's not a perfect writer. But what writer is perfect? I mean, I'm not defending her writing or anything, but I just personally love Sarah J. Maas in her books. So far, anyway, because I know so far she's only written 2 series, and she's not even finished. But it's totally awesome because, like I said, ACOTAR is my favorite series. Popular author you don't like. I don't know how popular Anne Rice is. I assume that she's popular, especially in the vampire fandom, the people who love vampire novels, because I like her writing style, but I can't get into her books. I mean, I do have a collection of 3 of her Vampire Chronicles novel, like one of those hardback and Barnes and Noble editions. The one with the pretty cover, and they look like those old-fashioned books from a long time ago. but it's hard for me to get into. I mean, like I said, I love her writing style, but she's almost too dark for my taste. Underrated book you think everyone should read? This was a hard question because I don't know what books that I read, if I read any books that would be considered underrated. But I guess I don't hear a lot about the 13th Tale, and that I think is a beautiful story, and it's a story for book lovers, I feel like, and because it's basically about this woman is doing some research on trying to learn about this one author who wrote a set of fairy tales, these 12 fairy tales, and there's a 13th one, and the woman is trying to figure out what happened to that 13th tale, and why, and basically the author is telling the woman about her life story, like how did she come to be, how did she come into this world, and it's a very interesting, beautiful story, and it's been a while since I read it, but I do want to reread it. But that was the only thing I could come up with at the moment. I mean, okay, so next question. A series you won't continue. The Mayfair Chronicles by Anne Rice. I got through most of the first book, The Witching Hour. Like I said, I like her writing style. I like the background the backstory she creates, and she delved really deep into her characters and their personality and their families and all that. Because, but like I said, I have a very love-hate relationship with her. Like I like her, as I've said multiple times, I like her writing style. It's very beautiful, and I like all the details and all that kind of stuff. But it's just what her stories are about. It's hard for me to get into, and stick with it. And the Witching Hour, I got through most of the book. I read most of it, almost all of it, with only a small amount, like this much left. But I couldn't continue it, and that's partly because I kind of cheated and looked at the end of the book. And I saw, I read and I didn't like how it turned out. Granted, it was a trilogy, so it would probably get better in the next two books, but I felt like it wasn't worth it, and I had to, and my mom has constantly insisted that I, unhaul books because I have so many, and I buy so many, so I ended up, that was one of the books I was willing to part with. The earliest book memory. Okay, this one, the only good one I could think of that wasn't cliche, because I could say, my how my parents, would read to me every night, like the Chicken Soup books. But I felt like that was too cliche, and it's not really a memory per se, it's just an idea, and it's a memory, but a memory idea. That, you remember this, but nothing specific, nothing concrete. So I decided to share this one memory that wasn't exactly, it was like someone was reading me one of my favorite books at the time during this particular memory. See, I have family that lives in South Carolina, and we used to live in Maryland, and it would take 8 hours for us to get there, and once you drive through North Carolina, you get to the border between North and South Carolina, and there is a little stop area there's a sombrero statue kind of thing, you can go up top of it, and the giant sombrero is there's a restaurant inside of it, and surrounded by it are all these gas stations and convenience stores where you can buy little souvenirs and stuff, and then there's a little carnival there, and the giant sombrero, it lights up at night, and I, for some reason, for the longest time, that thing scared me. And it's just this irrational fear I have of that thing, and, I don't know what, I can't explain. And to this day, my parents still kind of tease me about it, or they look back and see if I'm awake, and, not pretending to be asleep and my eyes aren't closed when we pass it. But my dad was reading to me Amelia Bedelia. He was sitting in the back with me, reading of the car and reading Amelia Bedelia to me, and I was really just enjoying what he was reading to me. And then we get to the border, the stop at the border, that's what it's called. And my eyes apparently were really huge, and I was freaking out when I saw it because, like, I was laying down in the long back seat, so I could see it through the window, and my eyes were like, and my dad just thought that was so funny because, like, they always tease me about it. I mean, and I was still afraid. I was still kind of nervous about it and afraid of it, even at an age where I shouldn't necessarily be afraid because it's really, thinking about it now, it's really stupid. I mean, I don't know why. It was just this irrational fear I had of this thing. But like I said, that was the only, I just said that memory. I am just saying that memory because my dad was reading to me at the time. One of my favorite books. But, okay, so, I'm gonna move a couple pages over because this is like my, okay, favorite book memory. Okay, this is cliche, but my favorite book memory is going to the midnight release of Goblet of Fire. Because I had started reading that book series around the time, I think, the first 3 books were already out at the time, I think, when I got into that series. And I remember, and then Goblet of Fire was coming out. People are talking about it, and this was, of course, before Facebook, before, like, all the social media stuff. This was back in the 90s when the series first became popular. And I just remember going to Borders. See, this is our bookstore. This is before Borders went under, and it was still one of the main bookstores to go to. And I was there, and I mean, my dad took me in his car. We went to the midnight release party, and we hung around. And of course, I'm not the type of person who socializes with people, just randomly socializes with people. I can't do that. I can't, just randomly go up to a person and start talking. My dad's better than I am. But we went, so I didn't really interact with it. I just went in there. My dad walked in with me, and I stood in line and waited for my pre-ordered copy of the book. I was just so excited to have that book and to be able to get it in my hands. And as soon as I got on the car, because all we did was just go in there and stand in line to get the book. And once we got it, we just went straight. We left, I guess because it was really late, and my dad knows I'm not the type of person to socialize, so we just went straight to the car, and as soon as I got in the car, I opened the book and started reading the book. I was like touching it and, running my hand along the cover. It was just such a beautiful moment. Of course, I don't think I was one of those people who stayed up all night to read it, but I definitely, as soon as I got in the car, I tried to read it. So that's probably my favorite memory. Favorite genre to read? Well, fantasy. That's my number one genre. Whenever I go to Books A Million, I go straight to the fantasy section. Least favorite genre? I would say contemporary, but I don't read a lot of contemporary anyway, so I can't really fairly say that's my least favorite genre. Whenever I hear people talk about it, it doesn't appeal to me. I mean, there are some that have cute stories, but I can't really judge. But, so I'm gonna say romance. Now, I like romance in my other genres, like historical fiction romance, or like romance and fantasy. Now, historical romance I'm a little picky about, because, like, I don't like the modern romances or the ones that are pure romance. To me, that genre is very repetitive. It's the same, like same type of plot. Boy meets girl in some interesting circumstance. You can it's either the best friends fall in love, or the love at first sight, or the love hate kind of story. Which those are my favorite. The ones with the slow burning romance, the love hate relationships where they can't stand each other. So I like romance, but I don't like reading about romance, or at least when it's just it's the main point of the plot. With the extra, if it's a subplot, I'm okay with it. Like, which is weird because I enjoyed Twilight, and I will defend Twilight. Of course, that also has vampires in it. But, I think I defend Twilight because I feel kind of protective of that series, but I'm not a hardcore fan of Twilight, so, but yeah, it's not my favorite, but I still liked it at one point, I don't hate romance, I'm very picky about it. So, but it is my least favorite genre, other, that I've actually read. Name one difficult book you're proud to say you've read. Gone with the Wind. That book has went over 1,000 pages. Of course, I didn't read it and went all the way through because I took breaks in between. But I love that book. That is a beautiful book. Basically about the main character Scarlet, during how she gets through the whole Civil War. She's in love with this one man, but he marries his distant cousin. He ends up marrying her, so Scarlet's forced to marry his her brother, and there's the whole, both men go to war, and Scarlet's husband ends up dying, so eventually to survive in this world, she decides to marry again, and this whole time she's harboring these affections for the other guy still. And then there's Rhett Butler, who's this guy who's in love with Scarlet, and he keeps trying to win her over, and he keeps on passing judgments on, and I feel like he does pass judgments on her, but then of course I can't blame him for passing those judgments. But I am really bad at summaries, but that's basically the gist of it, and it's this beautiful, dramatic story, and I love, as much of a bitch as she is, I love Scarlet as a character. She's such a fascinating woman to read about. And, that is such a beautiful, well-written book, and I love the South, too, which actually is now where I live. I live in the South. Which, although it's called, the state is one of the states with, but it's North Carolina technically, so it's still considered north, but it's north of the South. So, and I love the South. Okay, so favorite childhood book. Well, I did pick one, but thinking about it, there are a couple others that I really like. But I'll just say two that I can think of. The Velveteen Rabbit is the one that I put on here originally. I love that story. It's basically about this boy who is given the gift of this velvet rabbit, and the rabbit at night, the rabbit toy comes alive, and he learns about being real, and he wants to be real, a real live rabbit. But the wise rocking horse is like, well, you can't be real. It doesn't just happen. You have to earn the ability to become real. You have to be loved so much by this human that then you'll become real. And that's basically, the toy is, trying to earn, and the Velveteen Rabbit is basically trying to earn the ability to become real. And eventually the boy gets sick, and the rabbit is kind of forgotten, I think, no, I think the rabbit is the one toy that becomes, yeah, that's right, the Velveteen Rabbit ends up being the one toy the boy clings to while he's sick. And the boy loves loves the Velveteen Rabbit so much that eventually the rabbit becomes real. The sad part, of course, is that the little boy forgot the rabbit. I mean, he recognizes the rabbit vaguely when he sees the rabbit in the woods, but he doesn't realize that that rabbit is actually his toy rabbit from his child from before. It's just a really beautiful story. And then the other one I was thinking of is Miss Piggly Wiggly. That one is such a not as bittersweet, but a very fun little story. It kind of reminds me of what is that? Kind of reminds me of like Mary Poppins meets or what's that one with Emma Thompson? It just became a movie. And she's like Nanny McPhee. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Nanny McPhee because it's basically about this woman who comes to, this nanny housekeeper type woman who comes to take in these children. Comes to babysit these children, and they all are these children with all these bad habits. Like this one kid won't clean up his room. The kid won't eat their vegetables. Like all stuff like that. And Miss Piggly Wiggly has to teach these kids a lesson in a very creative, unique way. Like she lets them essentially get away with their bad habits, but to the point of where it's uncontrollable and the kid can't handle it either. So unfortunately in the real world it doesn't work like that. There's no Miss Piggly Wiggly or Nanny McPhee or Mary Poppins, but still, but I like that. I like that one too. Of course, I don't know what happened to that one. I imagine we got rid of that one too. At some point. Favorite book cover. Okay, this one was kind of hard, but let me first tell you that I don't have an ugly book I don't have an ugly book cover because, so far I'm satisfied with my book covers. And the only times I can't entirely say that because I'm not a fan of those book covers that you see at those romance novels that sell at Walmart or Target, the cheap one, or the ones that you get in the airport. Those covers are always really, like, with the hunky, muscular guy and the woman with the dress that reveals a little bit of her body, like her neck or her slender swan-like neck or her breast or her legs or something. She's all over the guy. Like, actually, I think one of the Gone with the Wind covers has a cover like that, I think. My edition, I think, has a cover like that. I'm not a huge fan of those covers. So I guess those would be the ugly book covers that I don't like. But my favorite book covers, that was kind of hard. Because like I said, I know people find this hard to believe, but I'm not here to judge a book by its cover because usually I know what I want to get. And even if I do judge a book by its cover, I usually read the back first. So I don't buy cover buys either. I know that's crazy. How could I want? Because from what I've seen on BookTube, almost everybody does, judges books by its cover, which, I can't blame you. Book covers. But, I'm not just saying, I never, I always read the back of the summary, or I know what I want. I know what I'm going in there for. But I have pulled out on my shelf a few really beautiful covers that I like. Except for one of them is a library book. One of them I just got this past Saturday. So, and I thought that was, I always like the Aragon book covers, or the Inheritance trilogy book covers. I always thought they were so beautiful, the different colored dragons on the covers. I always thought these were really beautiful. Oh, this one has a poster inside, I think. Oh, totally forgot. This is the last one. I picked this one because I like the gold. I like the gold in this one. For the first book though, I have the movie cover, and I'm just, it's just the image of the actors from the movie. It's like a movie poster. Which is kind of cool, but I'm not a huge fan of those covers usually because they're very, it's just people, the characters from the movie standing in some pose, some dramatic pose, with some background coloring, an image of a creature, whatever the movie's about. Those are usually very cheesy, but, I really like like I said, I like the gold. This actually reminds me of in The Hobbit, the Desolation of Smaug at the end of the movie when they create the gold river, when the dwarves create that, and that they somehow end up getting the dragon to fall into that river, into that golden river, and the dragon ends up being soaked and buried in gold. And then he comes out, he's like, you thought you could defeat me? Well, you know what? I'm gonna make you suffer. I'm gonna make those people in that village pay because you care so much about them. And he basically shoots out, and he goes flying over to Lake Town, and he shakes his wings, and all the gold comes sparkling down. It's just it's so cool. I like that one. I love that cover. Okay. I like this one. This is the one from the library. I finally got around to reading this because the library had it, so I decided to go ahead and rent it, borrow it, and read it. I love this cover. I love the idea of the closed eye on the cover with snow on the eyelashes. I think that's so pretty. It's so simplistic, and it's just between shades of gray. The whole closed eye with the snow on the lashes, I think is really pretty. Very simplistic. This is just such a pretty cover, and I love the white and the silver and purple writing. It's just it's so beautiful. And the handwriting I like that handwriting. I always love that handwriting. Okay, this is the 13th Tale. I love it. It has like a stack of books, of old-fashioned books. Again, I love how the writing, the printing of the title kind of looks like something you would see on a fairy tale book. And this is one of those books that has the extra flap with this inside, with the blurbs inside. And I think this is pretty. I love how the books look really old and and they've been around for years. I just really, and I love how the writing, the print title is. I love how it feels. It's like very three-dimensional. And then the last one is The Night Circus, which also this one also has this. It's the extra cover, and then this inside with the picture, with the blurbs, and the picture of this hand holding the circus. I always like the idea of silhouettes. I thought that the silhouettes of the people, of the two main lovers, I think is really cool. I love the black and the red. In fact, this is one of the books that I was on my list of for the top 5 sci-fi fantasy covers, because although I wasn't 100% sure if this could count, because it's not technically, it has fantasy in it, so I guess it does. It's been a long time, but I guess it counts. But I think this is so beautiful, and I have the circle with a tent in the middle, and then on the inside, like I said, there's the blurbs, and then there's the circus, and you see that the circus is being held in a hand. I thought that was really pretty. Okay, so those are some of my favorite book covers. I'm sure there are others that I really like, but in terms, I can't really. Like I said, I told you some of the ugly book covers. Book covers I don't like, with the guy with his chest exposed, looking clearly showing that he's a 6-pack or at least a 2-pack, and the woman in that dress that reveals just a little bit of her body, and she's clinging to the guy or something. I'm not a fan of those covers. Okay, I didn't answer this name a diverse book you think everyone should read, because I don't go searching out diverse books. I just search what books I'm interested in. And I know it's important. I'm not saying that it's not, and that people shouldn't read. I do definitely read diverse books. Like, I guess the most diverse I can tell you is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, or I don't know how to say his last name, but it's this cute little folktale type story. It takes place in the Middle East, I think, and this young boy is trying to find the alchemist, or he wants to become an alchemist, so he's trying to find someone to teach him how to become an alchemist, and he's basically traveling through his country to, actually no, I think he's Spanish. I think the boy is supposed to be Spanish, and he's traveling the world to find where he can find an alchemist that can teach him, and it's basically his journey, and he falls in love. He meets an alchemist that is like, "Are you sure you want to be an alchemist?" And it's just this cute little folk tale. I don't have it because it's a book I borrowed from my sister, but that's the most diverse. I mean, occasionally I've read, like, there are some books I've read that there's like gay relationships and stuff like that. I understand that's important. It's just I don't go seeking it out. You know, I just read whatever I really enjoy or whatever I come across. You know. So, and I understand the importance of accepting people, and I don't think, so I'm not saying it's not important, it's just I don't go reading those books, I mean, unless they're assigned to me from school. You know, I mean, I hope no one is, but, okay, and the last one is, I didn't write that question down, but I do remember, this last question is, why did I become a reader? Or why did I become a reader? I became a reader because I love being a reader, or became a reader because I love the idea. It offers escapism. You know, I know there's a cop-out answer because I think that's most people's answers, but it's true. I mean, it offers a chance to escape. And, you know, I have my own personal issues in my life. I have disabilities, and I have anxiety. And books just, I can understand the world of books. And it's my ability to escape. And and as Sam on Nonsense points out, and I will post a link to her video, books teach you things, and not just nonfiction, but fiction teaches you things about life, about people, teaches you lessons. I mean, there's a lot of kids' books that teach you lessons about life, like things that kids need to learn as they grow up. And it's just, books are so fun and such an adventure, and it makes the stresses of life and their problems of life, easier to deal with. I mean, it doesn't make them go away, but it definitely helps you deal with them. Okay, so that is my answers to the Ultimate Book Lovers tag. And I tag anybody, since this is new, I tag everybody that watches my videos. If you want to do this tag, go for it. Alright, thank you for listening to me.